Awesome. So, so Mr. Serrano, what is, I guess, yeah, background, my man. I mean, I know you study with Bob Proctor. How was that, and how did you start off, or how did that help you in your life? Like, just kind of fill us in, man. I'm excited for today.
Thank you very much. Well, I was born in Mexico, born and raised in Mexico, in Sinaloa, Mexico. But in 1997, I studied engineering. I'm an electrical engineer. And in 2004, they offered me a job in the US. So they basically, I'm resident because of the job of as an engineer. But I started, I worked in California for 10 years as an engineer, and I started to have several personal problems. I had a divorce. Now I have a beautiful family and everything. But, I went through depression, even thinking like suicidal thoughts and things like that. So I went through the rock bottom. And I realized it wasn't because of my job or money or anything like that. It was something else. So I started looking into personal development and obviously my connection with the creator also. But as I started this journey, which by the way never ends, which is personal development, I started to discover several things, but I started to change myself. And I also started to inspire some people to change. Obviously, some of them were not that, inspired, or, obviously the haters are going to hate, right? But also there were several people that they were inspired, and I started sharing, messages and things like that, and started changing. And there was a time when I wanted to basically be free, and I resigned to my job in 2017, and I started my journey as an entrepreneur. I live in San Diego, California, 15 minutes from Tijuana. So I opened a restaurant in Tijuana. We failed, and then I started. I built a house in Rosarito, which is next to Tijuana. And At that time, I wanted to, get back to the U.S., but not as an employee. And I started looking for a mentor, and I found Bob Proctor. So I went to one of those 5 day events. I was actually in pandemic, if I remember correctly, and I started listening. All the messages started to kind of resonate with my spirit. So I decided to become one of his consultants, and I didn't have the money, of course, but I asked for a loan to different people. Obviously, most of them rejected me, but I was able to get $32,000, and I invested those in becoming a consultant in the company, about Bob Proctor's company called Proctor Gallagher Institute. But we are about 3,000 people, 3,000 consultants worldwide. And since I'm not saying I'm better than anyone, because there's no one that is better than anyone, but I'm so passionate in what I do, and I started putting passion, as you guys do, in your what you guys do. And so I became one of his top 10 worldwide. I came to the Circle of Excellence, which is the greatest coaches of Proctor Gallagher Institute worldwide, and also the Inner Circle, which we were able to study with him. He was 87 years old, but he was studying every week, and we were having Zooms like this one, very small, like maybe 10, 15 people at the most. So I started learning a lot because by studying what he was studying, it was so profound, it was so deep. At the beginning, it was kind of difficult. Uh, First of all, because of language, but language barrier for me, going that deep in topics that are like, I'll give an example: psycho cybernetics, think and grow rich, and things like that. It just goes so deep that but my awareness, I think it was increasing. So awesome, man, I love it. So there was a time when I was able to get, I will say, a better grasp of it, and I started doing coaching. Nowadays, I have, thousands of people that I've helped, and I do have a big community of real estate investors.
Hmm.
I will say maybe 150 of them,
Hmm.
and the rest of them are like entrepreneurs and business owners and things like that. But um, I've come to know, I will say, most of the things, of the challenges that you faced on the real estate investment, um, you know thing that you do. And so since I go deep on the understanding of the mind, I help them to overcome those obstacles and to get the results that they want. So that's pretty much. I'm now married, have two kids, one 11 years son and 5 year daughter, and so I'm now living the life of my dreams, which has not been easy, but I'm so glad I'm helping in transforming the world, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Oh my God, that's awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you for that. Yeah, yes. So, real quick for everybody, for those of you that could turn on your cameras, please, if we can have our cameras on. Love Ernie's giving us the hearts. Um, so, and how long have you been practicing this as far as like the minds, like being the coach and like kind of well, helping
Four
people?
years. 4 years for Bob Proctor, 4 years. But in development, personal development, I would say 10, 11 years.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
I didn't know at that time, but before I came to Bob Proctor, I knew intellectually. We actually, our mind is divided into conscious mind and subconscious mind. And the conscious mind is the intellect, and the subconscious mind is the automatic part of us, which is our habits and beliefs and all those things. So I didn't know that for many years I studied the topics and I memorized them, but they were not in my subconscious mind. In other words, they were not in my behavior. So I did not, my awareness was not as high as it's been lately. And I'm not saying, again, I'm better than
Hmm.
anyone, but, you realize that your intellect, you can, spend 50 years learning a lot of stuff, but it only controls 2% of your behavior. The actual subconscious mind, it controls up to 98% of your behavior. So I give you an example. You guys know the strategy. I give you an example. I think you guys call it driving for a dollar. Driving
Yes.
for a
Yeah.
dollar. Yeah. So you
Hmm.
guys just are looking for houses, and then let's say you're like, oh, you know what? I see that house. I'm so motivated. Let's go. And then you step out of the car, and then something happens inside of you. You're like, and then you go back to the car and then you leave. Obviously, that has happened to everyone, right?
Can you guys raise
So
your hand if that happened to you guys? How many times has that happened to any one of us? We're about to take action and then something. Yep. Yeah.
correct.
We're,
So that's the subconscious mind, which controls you up to 98% of your behavior, whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not. And the intellect, which is, again, like I said, you may spend so many years studying, it, but you don't do it because of the subconscious mind. So um, once I came to Bob Proctor and then he helped me understand that, I was able to basically have congruency. He called it, Bob calls it praxis, which is integrating your behavior with your beliefs, or integrating your behavior with your intellect per se. So you become someone that, does what he says and says what he does.
what was that word you said? It was what, praxis?
Praxis, praxis. It's
Okay,
Praxis, praxis.
I've never heard of that word before.
Which it means a practice. It means,
Yeah.
it basically means preaching what you teach. So being congruent, right?
Okay. Now, what if? Okay, so you said something that was really. I mean, I think it hits home, right? Because all of us we do something very similar to driving for dollars, where we are driving around and we're real estate investors. We're trying to talk to homeowners and at the door, not just by the phone call, but we get out of the car, we're about to knock the door, and then something says, you know what? They're not interested in talking to me, right? And I have all the knowledge and the skills and the team of support to help this person if they chose to work with us. How do you break that barrier? How do you the knowledge into action? Like what have you learned that really helps us take that step, knock the door, talk to people?
This is the answer, and you have it with you, psycho-cybernetics, right? And I explain what it means. So this book, it was done in 1960 by a doctor, which it was a plastic surgery doctor, and he realized that when he was doing surgeries for some people, after the surgery, he was showing them the before and after and the positive result that they had. And obviously, many of them, they changed their attitude because they saw themselves better now, right? Obviously. But he also realized that there were some people that were not, even though there was a positive results before and after the surgery, there were some people that were still seeing themselves bad, even though the actual result was positive. They were still seeing themselves bad. And then he realized that, after, a lot of study, he realized that not even medicine or psychology had the answer. And he came up with this book that is called Psycho-Cybernetics, which determines that the way you see yourself controls all your behavior and obviously your results. So going back to the example you were saying that you were about to knock the door and then you tell yourself, "No, they're not gonna answer to myself," is because the way you see yourself is controlling your behavior, whether you realize it or not. And that is
Mhm.
called self-image. Self-image, that's the main topic of this book. Self-image is the concept you have of yourself, whether you are conscious about it or not, which most of the time you're not. I was not for 40 years. I didn't know what was the concept I have of myself. So this is one of the books that we study, really deep with Bob Proctor, and we. So the way you see yourself is, I give you the example. We all have this inner voice, right? That inner voice, what it's telling you, comes from the way you see yourself. I give you an example. If that voice says, "Oh, you're not gonna make it," that is coming from the self-image. That is coming from the image you have of yourself. And you might say, "Memo, but I'm not even aware of it." Yeah, like I said, 98% of our behavior comes from our subconscious mind and what is programmed there, which is our belief system, our, all the beliefs, fears, concepts, everything. And self-image, it's inside of our subconscious mind. Where is that coming from? It comes from, since the beginning of our life, from 0 to 7 years old, we don't have the conscious part of the mind very well developed, which means we don't have the intellect very well developed. In other words, that conscious part of our mind is able to reject and accept. The subconscious only accepts. So if we don't have, a very well developed conscious mind from 0 to 7 years, then we will not be able to reject something that we think that is not right. So everything that we saw or heard from our parents, from, authority figures per se, has, at that time it became the actual truth. And whatever you saw, whatever you heard, whatever that repetition that you saw and you heard, repeatedly, that's what became your belief. And I give you an example. I think we all had this moment at school when we were presenting in front of them, and then they were mocking at us because we failed, we did something. That event just penetrated the subconscious mind, and that started to create that one, not just that one, but so many of them. It started to create a concept of yourself, or whether you're conscious or not, like I said, but it started to create that concept of yourself, which is determining the way you see yourself. In other words, your self-image. Does that make sense?
Mhm. So how is it? So I love it, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Like I just came across this a couple days ago, or like a week or so ago. That I didn't know that. I didn't know that. From a certain age to a certain age, from birth to 7, our brains just accept things as the truth because it feeds into the subconscious mind, and then
Correct.
the majority of our adults lifehood is like trying to undo all the negative stuff, and the conscious
Correct.
mind is the huge filter in that, and even
Correct.
roadblock at times. You,
So correct. So answering your question, how you overcome that, the best thing is to watch your behavior. The first step is becoming aware. Because trust me, no one can change what is not aware. How can I change what I'm not aware? Memo, you have to change. Change what? Change my clothes? Change what? Right? Now, I think we all have kids, right? Everyone has kids?
the majority of us, yeah.
Okay, so when we have a kid and they do something wrong, we have to go and tell him right away at that moment the specific action that he did wrong. Otherwise, he will just not get it, right? You have to tell him exactly what they did. That means that we as humans, we need to know exactly or become aware exactly what is it or what behavior we are doing or having that is affecting us. So the first thing is becoming aware. And in order for me to become aware, I have to ask questions to myself. Why am I behaving like that? Why did I say it like that? Why am I doing that? So I have a huge community, and I give them 7 steps of auto suggestion. Auto suggestion is one of the 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So one of those seven, the actual 7th step is putting an alarm in your cell phone at the end of the day and ask yourself, did I behave as the person I want to become? Did I have the thoughts, the feelings, and the action as the person I want to become? And that's like we call it in Spanish corte de caja, which means that's like having a restaurant and then having this balance sheet, or I don't know how you call it, this moment where you count the money that you sell and then all the things you have to pay. Yeah, like the balance sheet. No, so
Hmm.
I don't know how to explain how is it said in English, but it's like a corte de caja. It's like you actually put in front of yourself and you ask yourself, did I behave as the person I have to behave? And then you can remember the day, remember your actions, and then you become aware. Becoming aware is like realizing, I'm like, oh wow, you know what, I didn't say that, I didn't do that. Right, that's the first step, becoming aware.
It's the book for those of you guys is this reminds me of the compound effect. They call it daily check-ins, which is what you're describing here. It's did my actions align with the values of who I want to be or become? And then you can that's great. Doing daily check, setting an alarm. That's huge.
I love that book that you mentioned, because it says small changes with consistency throughout the time, it creates radical results. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the key is not just the time, because time is gonna pass. The key is the consistency. So we don't need, now that we are in this year's end and we're thinking on that 2025 is gonna be our year. Remember this is a small changes, small activities with consistency throughout the time. It just creates radical changes.
So did you slowly? Because I've learned, like, like I want to take on the world, right? So I want to do a bunch of stuff, and I think where a lot of us fail is that we try to do everything all at once. And so is that more or less like do one thing for a certain time, make that your new normal, and then just add on to it?
Correct. Correct. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, your business, as any business, it needs prospecting, right? Without prospecting, is basically no one can sell anything, right? Every business needs sales, and in order to get sales, you need to prospect, right? So the prospecting part of it is what most of people are afraid of, whether they admit it or not. So I give you an example. You can start a small change, which will do a radical one. I give you an example. If you are that one that it's afraid of making calls, right? I will start just questioning myself, what am I afraid of? First of all, try to identify what is exactly that I'm afraid of. Whether I'm afraid of the opinion of others, whether I'm afraid of rejection. And if it's rejection, right? Then you're like, okay, start thinking, because trust me, most people don't think. They think. But thinking is directing your thoughts to a certain purpose, a certain objective or goal. So start thinking, why am I afraid of being rejected? And by the way, we go back to psycho-cybernetics, self-image, because if I'm afraid of being rejected, that means that I don't know exactly who I am. If I do know who I am and I have a high self-image, I have a high self-confidence, self-esteem. If I don't have a if I'm afraid of being rejected, that means that my self-esteem is low and my self-confidence is low because of my self-image. it's not good. That means I don't have a great opinion of myself. That's why I'm afraid of being rejected. Once I become aware of that, I can do exercise things. I can, the only way to overcome fear is facing it. That's the only way. But if you don't become aware of what is it exactly, then you will not do any activities that will actually make you face the fears. Does that make sense?
So the fear of being rejected, or like when you ask yourself, it boils down to your self-image. So if your self-image is not the best, or not even, I'm sure it's not even not the best, but I mean, what is that? Is that because, like, I know I'm a good person, right? But I'm still afraid of being rejected. But like, why? Like, is it gonna, like, that's the hard part. Like, why am I, if I have a good opinion of myself,
Well,
is it that it's not strong enough, or?
it is not strong enough. Exactly. Because I give you an example. And this goes back to our childhood. I'm sure we've lived some experience that somebody was, mocking at us, or was basically giving us a hard time, or maybe it was a huge emotional impact, because emotional impact is one of the ways to program the subconscious mind. So maybe we had this emotional impact, which is there and is creating that concept of ourselves, which is not as strong enough. And the way we see ourselves is not as strong enough. How you change that with auto suggestion? That's another, like I said, in Think and Grow Rich, one of the 13 principles that Napoleon Hill recommends to program or reprogram the subconscious mind is auto suggestion. Auto suggestion, those are affirmations that I tell to myself. But you gotta watch out, because affirmations can have no impact at all if you don't put emotion to it. So I give you an example. For me, the emotion is like the insulin that the cell needs in order for the glucose to get in. So emotion is what the idea, whatever that idea you want to implement or plant on the subconscious mind, that idea has to have emotion. So when you are doing affirmations, you have to empower yourself. That's why one of the 7 auto suggestion steps that I give to all my students is, one of them is being in front of the mirror, repeating your goal or whatever affirmation you want to, set or plant on your subconscious mind. I'll give you an example. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm, a successful entrepreneur, or whatever that is that you want to. Or maybe you just want to say something like, I'm strong, I'm positive, whatever, but I gotta empower myself. I gotta put a lot of emotion in front of the mirror, like, because that emotion is what penetrating the subconscious mind. If I only do it like, yeah, I'm so powerful, yeah, it won't do any good at all, right? So that's your moment. That's when you have to empower yourself. Saca el fuá.
I love it. It's great. So I'm a registered nurse. So when you said that, if you guys didn't catch that, that's like a huge gold nugget, you guys. Insulin is the emotion is the insulin to the cell. So if you guys, for those of you guys who don't really understand too much about the anatomy of a cell, in medicine, the insulin is the key that unlocks the cell that allows the sugar to go in. And sugar is energy, and energy builds momentum. It's freaking huge. Would you just, Memo, thank you so much, man. I feel like I just unlocked something over here. That framework.
Yeah.
Your emotions is the insulin that's going to let the affirmations give you energy to build momentum, you guys. That's freaking huge. Thank you, Memo. That's, oh my God.
My pleasure. See? Now, Tony Robbins says, motion creates emotion. Motion creates emotion. So I give you an example. If you're like, oh, I don't feel like it. If you force yourself to do an emotion, an activity or anything, it will create the emotion. And one of them is being in front of the mirror, and you force yourself to empower yourself, and then you're telling with a lot of emotion, regardless of what they say, or maybe you just go to your car and they close the windows and do whatever that you want, maybe because you're afraid of opinion of others, and that's fine. But just empower yourself and then use that to create the emotion that you need. So you penetrate the subconscious mind. And like Michael said, it will give you the energy. It will just pump you up. Like, I'm ready. Let's go. So next time you're driving for $1 and then that happens to you, that you're about to knock the door and then you just walk away. Then once you get back to the car, then that thing on the mirror on your car, just look at it and then like start giving you instructions like and then go back to it. Now, once you do it, I give you a key, another nugget. This book says every action increases or decreases your self-image. Think about this. Every promise you don't meet, every single simple promise that you don't meet. Like I give you an example. You say like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm gonna wake up early, and you don't. That single action it's hitting really hard your self-image, self-esteem, self-confidence. But what happens when we meet our promise? As small as it could be, it empowers us, right? Like, yeah, I did it. So that actual empowerment comes from the action that we took. Or if we feel like, oh, I don't feel like it's because we're doing actions that are decreasing. You may want to.
Yeah, so whoever's
Ronald.
Ronald.
Thank you. So every action it is decreasing or increasing my self-image. So I give you an analogy. So let's say you have this tree that is really strong and we call it self-image, self-esteem, self-confidence. Every action or every promise that we don't meet, let's say you have a bat and then you hit it hard. That tree that is your actual self-esteem, self-image, self-confidence. Every promise you don't meet, it's a really, batazo, how you call it, like you hit it really hard. And, one promise you don't meet is nothing. But how about doing that every single day for every year that we've lived? That tree is not that strong. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. You wear it down. You eventually create a weak spot.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, self-image it's huge once you understand that concept. Another thing that is involved or involves the self-image is standards. Standards, insecurities, those it all comes down to self-image. So I'll give you an example. We all have standards in everything. Standards in what in our income, in our body, or image, in our relationships, in the house, and everything, in the food that we eat. So we have standards in everything. Those standards are reflecting your self-image. Those standards are reflecting what you accept and what you don't accept. So let's say, and hopefully this is not the case on anyone's, but let's say a woman that is accepting that is, a partner, her partner beats her up. That's because of a low self-image. The opinion that you have of yourself is so low that you allow others to hit you or to say something. But once you have a strong self-image, whatever they say is like, I already know who I am. So I give you an example, Michael. If I keep telling you, yeah, you're Jeff. Hi, Jeff. And I keep telling Jeff, hi, Jeff. Will I convince you if I insist, will I convince you that you're Jeff?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm Michael. I know who I am.
Are you sure of that?
I'm very sure. If everybody in the world started calling me Jeff, then I'd start asking questions.
Okay, so here's my point. If you already know who you are, I give you an example. Do you know what you have in your heart, your intentions, who you really are, right? If I have a strong image or concept of myself, I know I have a good intentions. I know I'm a good person. I know I'm whatever smart. I know who I am. Why would I care if someone calls me out something that is not who I am? And I ask you, would I convince you that you're Jeff? And you're like, no. Would I convince you that you're a bad person?
No.
Why would you care? That's when you have a
Hmm.
strong self-image. And that's called self-knowledge, autoconocimiento. That means like I know who I am.
Hmm. Now, what is your take on it? Because a lot of us, people like Abdul and people like Carlos, we're doing sales, right? So they've done these guys, they've been trained, they've done the things, Alexa, like they've done the thing. A lot of us in here are brand new into this foreclosure door knocking stuff,
Mhm.
right? Where somebody like Carlos, Abdul, Alexa, Shelby, like they've done sales, somebody getting into something new where we know we're a good person, but now it's like how do you build confidence on something you haven't done before but you really want to do it,
Okay,
because
first of all, for me, is understanding. Understanding, it seems to be simple, but it's not. I give you an example. Once we know that there's no master that didn't start it as a rookie, once you know that, you're like, hey, so the only way for me to become a master of what I do is to start. The first step is to start. And then, in order for me to be good at something, I have to fail. So I give another concept to failure, because failure, once you see it as a part of the process in order for you to become a master of it, that changes the whole concept of it. But if you are afraid to fail, that means you don't have the real understanding that failure is the only way to get there. And most of us, we're afraid of failing, and that's the actual problem. So once you do have understanding, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fail. Yeah, I did it so bad. Yeah, I laugh at myself, but I will do it again. Why? Because in order for me to become an expert, I have to keep doing it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna stay here. That's understanding. So for me, in order to do a big change, you need four things. One, it's a burning desire, because a burning desire is the only thing which step on your excuses or your fears, insecurities, whatever that is, right? A burning desire, and that burning desire comes from the image that you entertain. Some people, they're like, I'm gonna crash, I'm gonna crash. Oh, they crash. They are entertaining an image which became a burning desire. And you're like, no, no, that was not a burning desire. I didn't want that. Yeah, you did. No, I didn't want that. Yeah, but you entertained that. So any idea we entertain, this is Andrew Carnegie's phrase. Any idea we entertain, whether it's good or bad, whether we fear or revere, it will find a way to become a reality or manifest, whatever you want to call it, right? So that is huge, because understanding that you need a burning desire to overcome any obstacle, to do the uncomfortable, it's a burning desire. And that comes from the image that you holding, right? Make sure that you have a clear image, because we think in images, a clear image of what you want, who you want to become, right? Clear image. And in order for you, so you can do auto suggestions too, to plan that image on your mind. Second is you need understanding. And I'm saying four steps of making a huge change or habitual behavior, or whatever that is that you want to come that is really significant. You need four things. One is the burning desire, which I already went through. Second is the understanding. Understanding is like, I'm not talking about the intellectual understanding. Like, oh yeah, yeah, and then I just I walk away and I do something different. That is not understanding. So you might want to write this down. The real understanding, it's reflected on your behavior. The real understanding changes your behavior. So if your behavior doesn't change, then you didn't get it. Even though you might say, oh yeah, no, you didn't get it. Because if you do, your behavior changes, right? So you need understanding. How do I get understanding? repetitive study, repetitive study, repetitive study of your mind, repetitive study of the job that you do, repetitive study. So once you, like, I give you an example, I'm giving you some nuggets right now, but that doesn't mean that you do understanding. But if you have the recording and you study and study and study, you see it again and see it again and see it again and see it again, you're like, oh yeah, now I get it. That's understanding. But it will be reflected on your behavior. Otherwise, you didn't get it, right? So understanding, that's the second. The third one is courage. So you have to have courage, right? Otherwise, it's just no way. To make a huge change, you have to have courage, which also comes from the burning desire, from the image, the goal, the thing that you want to become or accomplish. That comes from that. So courage. And the fourth is persistence. Persistence is not consistency, and I wanna reiterate the difference. Persistence means I will fail, but I will get back and do it again. How many times? As many as needed. I will fail, I will get back up, and then do it again. So most people, they are doing these new behavior things. I'll give you an example. Now this year's end, they will have this New Year's resolutions, and then by 2 weeks of January, they already left. Right? Why? Because once we have this, let's say 2 3 days of doing it correctly, and then we have everything is going well, and then we fail. Most people have this inner excuse me, this inner conversation wrong, and they start like, oh, you know what, maybe I'm not good at this, and they start like entertaining those thoughts, and then they just left. Because part of the mind, which is the subconscious mind, which is called paradigms, the paradigms that they don't want you to change. They are really comfortable as you are. So once you start doing changes, you have an epic, like a royal battle of your own mind, trying to deceive you or trying to, make you not do something, not do the changes. And you gotta understand that it's gonna be a battle inside of your mind. It's gonna be a resistance inside of your mind and outside of your mind, but you still have to do it. That's why you need to understanding how does my mind work. Oh, my mind works that every time I do a radical change, it was just making me a royal battle to not change. But I do get it now, and I see it, and I'm like, don't start, I will still do it. Right? That's the internal battle that you have with your own mind. But you show yourself who does have the control, and you still do it, even though your mind is like, oh, your inner voice is like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, right? So persistence is, there might be some days with that inner voice wins, and that's fine. So persistence is like, okay, I failed today. Today was, I didn't win today, but that's fine. Tomorrow is my day. I will get back on track. Let's do it. So understand that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's something that we want to change our life, which will make a huge impact in my life. And this is not something it will be right away. I have to, give it some time and give myself some grace too. And most people, they don't give grace for themselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That was, man, this is so good. So it's have you ever ridden a motorcycle, or have you gone skiing or snowboarding? While you were talking about the burning desire, if anybody's ever ridden a motorcycle, one of the things they tell you is look in the direction that you want to go, and don't, like, if you're, don't focus on what you don't want to do. And motorcycles, if you're afraid because you're gonna hit something and you're staring at it, like, that's the direction the bike is gonna go.
Yeah.
And then, like, skiers, that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about the burning desire. Like, keep your eye on the prize. If you're skiing on a mountain and you're afraid of hitting the trees and you keep focusing on the trees, you're gonna hit the tree.
Is that when you're driving too? When you're driving that barrier on the middle, if you keep seeing the barrier on the middle, oh, watch out, you're gonna hit it.
It was huge, man. And then a little takeaway from understanding, and I got this from, I don't know if you know, if you follow or Alex Hormozy, but he's one of these business
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking about understanding, what came to mind is, understanding is condition and behavior, right? And then you understand if you're in the same condition and you have a new behavior or a new response, right? And so if
Right.
you're in the same condition and you have the same response after 10 or 15 times, you don't understand the assignment. Same conditions, new response or new reaction, there's more understanding. Um, so
Amen.
so what's the time frame? Is it, because I know I've read these books and they talk about like 21 days or 30 days to get new behavior. Like what is that true? Does it really work that way, or what has been your findings in your practice?
And since I train hundreds of entrepreneurs, I realized that it's actually more than 90 days, not just 21. It's 90 days, and it's like without failing. It's 90 days, like doing boom, boom, boom. Now, you fail, you have to go back at it and then start from zero again. But but that's understanding. I give you an example. For what you do, real estate investors, right? Awesome. Do you want to, do you really want it? Oh, yeah, I want it. When? When it has to come, once I become the person. So I'm becoming the person. It's not just so much the thing that I'm going to accomplish. The only thing that separates you from whatever you want to accomplish is the person that you haven't become. The only thing that separates you is the person that you have not become yet. So you're gonna fail, yes, but it's not like, you know, I still wanna live. I still want, the time is still gonna pass. I will not fail. I mean, I will not um, quit until I do it. Whether I start so many times again, all over again, I know every time I'm starting not as I used to start, but starting with more experience, more understanding. See that, so I'm stronger. The next time I start, even though I'm starting from scratch, I'm
Hmm.
starting stronger. So if I don't fail, I will get there. So the only problem that why we don't get there what we want is because we quit so soon.
And what have you found, right? Because when and all of us in here, right? We've some of us, I've known you guys for a couple of years. Some of you guys, I'm just getting to know you guys. What gets that person to the 90 days, right? Because it's like, of the
Burning
people that
desire.
you've talked to, what has been the outlier or like the commonality between, like, oh, I've noticed these top 10 performers, they all had this thing that helped them cross over that 90-day mark. Like, well, what do they have? Is it
Burning desire.
community?
It's
Is
a
it just
burning
burning?
desire. The burning desire. So once you have a clear image of you in that position or that life or that vision, once you have that clear image, then you can entertain that image and then do what Bob used to call get emotionally involved on the image. Once you do so, then you get the burning desire. That burning desire is to see the tip of the mountain and not all the things you have to do to get there. That is the key. Put your vision of what you want to accomplish and get it so much, as a burning desire yourself, that regardless of how many times you fail, you will get there because you have a clear image. Now, everybody, says that, but the thing is, we have to learn to write down what we want. That will make to create the image, the correct image in our mind. That image, we have to. Bob used to say, "Give it some juice." You have to love it. We have to build it. We have to entertain it. We have to, nurture it. Does that make sense?
So do you almost have to be selfish in a way, or is it like, you know what, like, because it's like the burning desire, it's because it's kind of seems like that's all, you almost like that's all, not all you care about, but it's like an everyday reminder. I will, not fail at this. I will keep going, because I've had it where I have that burning desire. But it's at times it's almost cost me my family, right? Because I'm so strong headed, where I've had conversations with my partner, and I'm opening up to you guys a little bit here. where we've had those conversations where I've had to tell her like, hey, you're either with me or you're not. Like I'm regardless if everything around me falls apart, I'm gonna keep doing the thing that I'm doing. It's is it almost self-destructive? Is there a balance or like should we be careful of that burning desire?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm married too. I know what you mean. Exactly. I've been there too. But in my opinion, there's no way to get significant things without giving the sprint in certain time. There are times where you have to just like hit it hard for a certain time in order to get to a certain point that maybe from there it will not be as difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Most of experts they call it 90 days. So what I will do is to sell the project to my partner. Sell the project. Literally. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm doing this because we're going to get this. So I
Mm-hmm.
share the vision and they're like, oh yeah, they buy the vision. Otherwise, it's just to try to do it myself because I want to. I mean, obviously, you got to remember that the burning desires come from an actual desire that you have yourself, not your partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not your spouse. So the desires, the dreams, they are personal dreams. No, but I want it for my family. Yeah, but it's your dream, right? Yeah, it will impact more other people. Yes, but it's your dream. So you gotta understand that the dream is actually personal. So just because you have it, or you will want it for to benefit your family or your spouse or whatever, that doesn't mean that they buy into it or they do want it as you want it that hard. You know what I mean? So you have to learn to give the vision. So I give you a sales tip, right? If you want to close someone, give him a higher vision. If you want to close someone or move him into action, give him a better vision of what they currently have. So if you sell the project, you give the vision to your partner, or even it can be your partner in business, or it can be your spouse or whatever. But if you show them the vision, this is what we're doing, this is where we're gonna get to. If they buy it, if you are really good at showing that, they will buy it and they're like, "Oh, okay, I'll pay the price. Let's go. I'll give you, those 90 days, or maybe not just wait 90 days. Maybe they will help you and that will be even better."
Damn, so good.
Thank
So
you.
good. You mentioned Bob Proctor would study the book Psycho-Cybernetics. So
Mhm.
you guys, you don't. There's a difference. I mean, we know this, right? And we talk about selling on the vision as well. When we talk to our homeowners, we sell them on the vacation is what we call it. We sell them on the vacation of, hey, can you picture your life looking like this? Let's help you get there. But I wanted to take it back. You were talking about you guys would study the book. Study. How do you study a book? I mean, because I went to college, right? But what is it? How do you get the most out of a book? Because I don't want to just read books. I want to understand the books.
Yeah, great question. So first of all, have a book holder. Okay, book
Ooh,
holder.
let's go. Amazon
Because
affiliate link. Let's drop it.
and I give you the reason. This is not even Bob's. This is Bob's mentor's advice, which is Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale. If you can go. Oh, by the way, if you want to have a radical change in your results, listen to the magic word, which is called attitude, from Earl Nightingale in YouTube every day. That's one of the 7 steps that I give to my students. Every single day, listen the magic word, which is called attitude, from Earl Nightingale. That was Bob's mentors. So Bob mentored Earl Nightingale, give him the advice to have a book holder and leave the book in the page where you find something that you want to implement on your behavior, right? And you see it every day, you study every day, because reading is not the same as you said. And you're right. Reading is not the same as studying. Now, why will someone read a book and why will someone study a book? What is the purpose of it? If I read it, it's because I want to become aware and I want to learn. That's fine. Question: did I change your results by learning? No. Unless you implement something, unless you apply something, then it changes your behavior. I mean, your results. But if you only know, what good does it do for you? Why would you have some kind of contest, or maybe you pay the rent with what you know? Results is the name of the game. Results. Where do the results come from? Behavior. So did I implement it, what I learned, what I study? No, then it's pointless. But if I study something, then first of all, it's not about reading the whole book. It's about, reading it, finding something that really impacts you, and then you stay there, and then you'll find ways to implement that in your life. Literally put it in your agenda, like, I'm going to start doing this small change with consistency over time, creates radical changes. So believe it or not, most of my books, I haven't finished them. I don't need to.
Oh, you're just like me then.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
it changed. Yeah, I mean, and I understand what you're saying, because at the beginning, without understanding, I was like, hey, man, I haven't even finished the book. And I am starting another one, and I'm starting another one, right? But once I was starting with Bob, I realized there's no actual need to finish the book. I'm not saying that you will never have to finish it. That's your decision. But for me, I'm starting to change my results, not reading to just know more.
So how much time would you guys spend on a chapter per se? Like, in these, because I have it, I've done some book clubs, but I feel like they would talk about studying the book, but like every week is like, hey, did you read chapter one? Cool, let's move on to chapter two. And then they would finish the book and then, all right, we're on to the next one. And now they're on like the fourth or fifth book. And I'm like, wait, but there's so much things we can talk about on like chapters 1 through 3. Like how much time, and it doesn't have to be, you got it down, but like, how much time should you spend on a chapter? If you wanted to start a book club for the team here, right? Was it a week? Is it a month?
Believe it or not, but I've never done a reading, class or
Uh-huh.
club, anything like that. I do give classes every single day at 6:30 a.m. every single day for years. But even one paragraph, I go deep every single word, and I take the whole hour, maybe an hour and a half, just a single paragraph, so we can go deep and understand that. So it comes the aha moment, like, oh yeah, and then your behavior changes. I prefer that in order to study a whole chapter. So I don't have an answer, because honestly, I don't spend time on one chapter and then the next day with another chapter, because I understand that doesn't change my results at all.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good for me to hear. There's a sales trainer. His name is Jeremy Miner, and he one of the things he talks about what you just said, where for him, when you're in sales and you say a sentence, or like even like if it's like a three place exchange where I say something, you say something, and I say something back, just that 1, 2, 3, he'll spend an hour and a half, 2 hours on just literally those three sentences that went back and forth, and he's breaking down every single word. So that's okay. So that's a new perspective on how to study a book.
Yeah, because honestly, I think there's so much knowledge in the books. Remember that we think on images. So if we are reading a lot of, sentences, we are coming up with a lot of images. But the only thing that changes my behavior and my results are the images that I entertained. I'll say it
Mhm.
again. The only thing that changes my results and my behavior in both are the images that I entertain, that I hold, that I keep thinking on it. So if I'm reading, I'm creating so many images in my mind, but I'm entertaining myself. I'm not changing my behavior. And this is so common. Humans, we want to be entertained. We don't want to change. And with books, you get entertained, and then you know you have some swagger, right? And then you're saying, oh yeah, I read this book, so many books. Yeah, but did that change your results? Most likely not. So that's the thing. I think that's a different understanding, that every single word, if you go deep on that single word or that single sentence, it will make an aha moment for you, and it will change everything.
Yeah, man, there's another. People don't want to change; they want to be entertained. Is what I just got out of that. People don't want to change; they want to be entertained. Is that I would imagine I would kind of put that with analysis paralysis. I would say a lot of
Yeah,
times you're being entertained by analyzing everything. You're not really changing.
correct. I mean, it's like in social media, just put something that, it's a stupidity, or it's just not an irrelevant thing, and you have so many likes. Put it something like a really deep thing, and then it's just one like. That's the way it is, you know.
Mhm.
That's how it is, you know. People want to be entertained. That's how it is.
Oh. No, dude. Oh, and I apologize. I didn't set up. I don't know what your time is. Normally, these Zooms run for about an hour. We're at the hour mark.
Yeah,
Is
sure.
there
I mean,
it,
I can. I'm right now. I'm fine, but if I can come back anytime you guys want,
yeah.
I hope I'm giving some value.
No, I mean, I kind of, if you're okay with, I mean, yeah, Carlos is giving the thumbs up. He's loving this. Would you be okay with kind of do like a Q&A? Or do you guys have any questions for him? I would
That'll
love to
be
have you
awesome.
on again, man. I love the exchanges that we're having. This is phenomenal.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, please ask away. I mean, this is a great opportunity. Just unmute yourselves and just have at it.
Don't be shy. Don't
Cool.
be shy.
I know I'm about to start calling people out over here. I know there's some.
I don't bite. So yeah.
Yeah.
My mind is just blown, man. It's just I love that a lot of this kind of reaffirms the stuff that some of like the people that I've been noticing on the team that have been finding success are the people that are taking a lot of action. And so a lot of this kind of reaffirms that, like, and then um and then now it's just fine tuning that action, because sometimes we're just taking action, just going hard, going hard, going hard, but without that self image that we need to make. I feel like we might just be taking action, and we're just entertaining ourselves at that point. So this 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 is kind of reaffirming that I need to go do some more homework. Like, I mean, I try to do homework, but I need to direct it a little bit more. And consistency, like, I think every day, adding that to my thing, and something that you pointed out, Michael, is like aligning with your partner, that kind of thing. That made me think about, like, because like, I think a lot of us that are married and we have families and we have responsibilities and stuff like that, and yet we like, and then you see like some of the younger people who don't have families responsibilities, and they get to go hard without having to worry about any shit. They can just throw caution to the wind and just focus on one thing, and then they'll notice massive growth. So we have to kind of like take our whole experience of being alive with and having that responsibility, and let that be something that also impacts the our self image as something when we're going forward, because we're doing this, but we're also doing this with that extra layer of us being the family man, the human that we are. So that
that, that,
that
that
that will kind of define our self-image a little bit more, because that's part of our self-image, is that we're a family man and we're doing the thing that we're doing, so.
that brings up a question for me, Memo. Um, some of us on here, and at one point, even still now, it's myself.
Mhm.
How do you? What advice do you have for people that everything just seems to be falling apart around them, and they still have this thing, like with this door knocking thing, this foreclosure, this real estate thing, is for a lot of people it's a way out, it's the light at the end of the tunnel. But so Edward kind of alluded to it, like some of us, our lives are falling apart. Like we're having a lot of personal struggles. What advice would you have for somebody? What tips and tricks, affirmations when things are hard and you're trying to be persistent?
Yeah, there's so many ways to answer this, but I will give you my best. The first success you have to look for is the internal success. All right. So and I've seen this in so many people. They're trying to find success in any industry and a certain thing they do, because they think they will get more peace, they will be more happy because they have more money or whatever that is. But trust me, without internal success, there's no way you can have external success. What do you, and by the way, my internal success might not seem exactly as your internal success. So that's why, Edward, I'm glad you mentioned that. You have to do some homework. What is that homework? You have to sit down yourself and write down, because writing down is the key. Writing creates thinking, and thinking arouses dormant powers, which means those powers that we have of creating, because we have six higher faculties: imagination, perception, intuition, reason, memory, and will. Once we use those superpowers to create the self-image and what we want or who we want to become, that changes the whole thing. So what do you consider internal success? Who you want to be? I give you the example. That's why I love studying the mind, because that resolves everything. Resolves money, resolves business, resolves personal life, resolves health, resolves everything. So who you want to become? What is success, internal success for you? What would that be? I'm at peace. I'm a lot more loving. I'm more, I have empathy. Whatever that is, you have to look for that first. But in order for look for that, you have to define it first. That is called defining your self-image. So if I ask you, who you want to become, you might say, I want to get this, I want to get that, and I want to buy this. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say what you want to get. I didn't say what you want to buy. I say who you want to become. Who you want to become. I want to become, disciplined. I want to become, loving. I want to become whatever that is. That's your self-image. That's the internal success you have to look for first in order to have the external success. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. I forgot what book I read it in, but it's like a lot of people, they're like, when this happens, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, right? That's typical. That's typical. Yeah.
When like I'll do so it's like Alex Ramosi talks about it. It's like, when I have a six-pack, I'll start working out. When I have more time, I'll take more action. When it's just be the thing. Like, when this happens, then I'll be happy. And I was like, well, let me just be happy, and then the thing will happen.
That's right. And that's what Bob used to call living from outside in. And that's so wrong. And unfortunately, that's so common. 99% of people are living from outside in, which I'm waiting for something outside of me to make me happy, to make me at peace. And that's totally wrong. We have to live from inside out, which means using my six higher faculties, which are imagination, perception, reason, intuition, memory, and will. I use that instead of my five senses, and then I pick the image that I want to entertain, whether it's the image of the person I want to become, and then from there I take my decisions, not from what I'm seeing, not from what I'm hearing, not from. That's why when people say she or he makes me happy, no, you should be happy by yourself. Otherwise, you're. Right? It's an internal job. It's not an external job. No one and nothing. You might want to write this down. No one and nothing will make you will give you plenitude, will make you happy. No one and nothing. Whether you call it money, whether you call it, $1,000, or how you guys call it. It doesn't make that. It will not. That will not give you any plenitude, any happiness. It will be an internal. So it's an internal job that you have to do. So first of all, what I will do is just look for myself. What do I want to become? Because first is being, then is doing, and then is having.
That's pretty awesome. That makes me think, like, you can't really pour water into this cup that is you from outside. It can only come from inside.
Correct.
And if you build that inside, it'll start to fill it up and fill you up and with happiness and all the fulfillment that you need. That's great. Awesome.
Amen. My pleasure.
This is reminding. I'm thinking of a word just came into my mind, and I hope you can touch on this one a little bit. Grateful. It sounds like everything that we're talking about is pointing towards the word just being grateful and inner happiness. How do we use gratefulness? I've heard people like the gratefulness is like one of the biggest frequency or the strongest frequency that there is in the world, or something like that. How do we practice gratefulness when we're in the darkness? Can we use gratefulness, being grateful for something to get us out, or like what do you think?
Sure, that's it. Oh man, that's just a 2 hour topic. But yeah, I'll try.
How much time do you got?
Well, there's a book that is called The Science of Getting Rich. I have this in Spanish, but it's called The Science of Getting Rich. The Science of Getting Rich. This is in Spanish, but it's always in, obviously in English. It's The Science of Getting Rich, the Wallace Wattles. And then it says every process of, I'll read it. It says every process of adjusting and harmonization mentally, it all comes down to gratitude. Any process, like every process of adjusting and harmonizing my mind comes down to one single thing: gratitude. See, I'm reading in Spanish and I'm translating. That's why. But so gratitude is everything. Now, for me, the key of life, like if you do this, everything will be great in your life. Learning or mastering how to be grateful in adversity. But in order for you to do so, you have to have understanding. Now, I teach the universal laws. Universal laws is the way God, has order in the universe. It might seem that we don't have order, but we do. And so there's one universal law that is called the law of polarity. And the law of polarity says that every negative has a positive, as is inside is outside, it's up and down. So there's always an opportunity in any crisis. And Napoleon Hill used to say in any crisis or any problem, there's a seed of a huge opportunity of the same size as the crisis, as the problem, right? So once you learn that every problem, every adversity has at the same level and it's equivalent on the opposite side, then you start looking for the opposite side and start looking for the opportunities to learn. What is this teaching me? What is this showing me? What do I have to learn out of this? And then it changes my attitude. It changes my focus. It changes my direction. It changes my decisions. It changes my behavior. It changes my results. It changes everything, right? And in order to do so, then you have to use, gratitude, because you're like, thank God, or whoever you believe in, thank you for this opportunity to become better. Now, I mentioned this before. The only thing that separates you from what you want to get, whether it's money, whether it's so many doors, whatever that is, the only thing that separates you is the person you haven't become. And the person you haven't become means the problems that you're able to resolve now, which are just stronger, and those problems and that wisdom will come from the problems you're facing. So every time you're facing problems, you're becoming wiser. So be grateful for it. Make sense?
Yeah. Fucking mic drop, dude. Oh my God, dude. There it is. Hey, so it's 10:15. Dude, thank you so much for being with. Where can we find out more about what you do? I know you talked to me. You have like a YouTube channel. Like where and art. Yeah. So that's that. And then I want to ask one last question. But yeah, where can we find out more about you and what you do?
And by the way, if you can share with me this recording, I will put it in my YouTube channel. Please. Honestly, I do have a lot of stuff in Spanish. My main market is in Spanish. I have so much work in Spanish, but I will, this coming year, this January, my team is not changing, but is translated everything into English, because I will also help so many people in English now. I do give some mentorship one-on-one, but most of my videos and stuff are in Spanish. But you can, if you understand Spanish, go ahead and do it. But if you don't, I promise I will start adding more stuff in English. But go to YouTube and look for Memo Serrano Elite Mentor. Memo Serrano Elite Mentor. And in Instagram is Memo _ Serrano _ Diaz David. Memo _ Serrano _ Diaz David. That's my Instagram, which again, I will have to create another page for the English speaking people. But I apologize for not having.
No, it's great. Thank you. I'm gonna be drawing you guys. So I'm gonna put this links inside the Discord, and then so we can follow you, and for those of us that understand Spanish, and then into the new year, follow for the English content. Then my other question was is like we're part of a larger community of about like 15,000 members, and then of us are part of other mentorships as well. So I wanted to ask you, can we share this to the masses and let them know?
Please do so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll promise I have more information in my social media and as far as English. But yeah, please share it.
Okay. Awesome.
We can. I call it, my purpose is waking souls up. So I'm waking up souls. That's pretty much what I do, and I love that. So if this message will help to do so, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Awesome, man. Okay, man. You guys give them some love, man. This was phenomenal. Was not expecting. I didn't know what to expect, man. But this exceeded all expectations I could have had, anyways.
Beautiful.
So Memo, thank you so much, man. We'll be in touch. I'll send you the link once we have it. For everybody else, thank you guys for showing up and staying. We were 23 strong for the whole time. We'll see you guys later, right?
Gracias, Alba. Thank you, Alba. Bye-bye.
Gracias.
Okay,
bye.
Thank you so much.
Gracias a todos. Gracias, Memo.
Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you,
Ciao.
everybody. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Alba.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alba. Thank you, Alba, for putting this together. Appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome.
Amazing.
Thank you, Alba. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Very
Awesome.
welcome, everybody.
So for those of you
just-
guys, I'll go for it. Yeah.
Just a comment. Many of his videos or reels, they're translated in English.
Okay. Can you drop
Yeah.
his information in the Discord? I'm sure you
will.
already have them.
I
And then
will.
for those of you guys that have leads, deals, contracts, hop on over to the Discord. Abdul is going to be waiting for us to kind of talk about what we need to do to take care of our clients. Okay. All right. You guys have a phenomenal morning, and I'll see you guys in the Discord.
Yeah,
Peace.
Peace.